Well, welcome. Again, I really appreciate your time and your interest this afternoon in the Teen Think Tank Project. I'm Kelly Nagel. I'm one of the co-founders. Also on the screen is Matthew DeSantis, my co-founder. We're the two co-founders of Teen Think Tank Project, and we're excited to just walk you through about 30, 45 minutes worth of time talking about the Teen Think Tank Project, sort of our vision for the future, how it came about, and the work that we've been doing and the work that we're going to continue to do, and what the programs are that you could consider getting involved in. And then we'll leave some time for a question and answer session for anyone who might have questions or want to talk about anything that we've gone over. So I will throw it over to Matt to kick us off.
How's everybody doing? I really appreciate you guys taking the time. It is 1 o'clock on a Friday before Memorial Day weekend. When I was 16, 17, or 18, there were 100 places that I would have been at on Friday at 1 o'clock of Memorial Day weekend. One of them was not on a Zoom call listening to a couple old dudes and old chicks talk about social justice issues. So I totally commend you guys. That is absolutely awesome. And that's why this program exists. It's to give a voice to students like yourselves who have something to say, who care about something and want to see the world be better than it currently is, right? We don't need to be scholars. We don't need to be social scientists. We don't need to have already graduated high school to realize that the place that we call our home, the place that we call our world, our society, is a mess at best. I think that is a kind way to say it. Someone goes so far as to say it's an absolute dumpster fire. But we have the ability to change that. We have the ability to correct course. We have the ability to change the trajectory of our society. But that does not lie in my hands. It does not lie in Kelly's hands. I'm going to say this is going to be totally off the record. I'm not going to admit it to anybody else besides you guys. It doesn't even lie in your educators and your teachers' hands. Sorry, Ms. Welsh. It lies directly in your hands, because what I realized personally several years ago, several months ago, is that the individuals who we have identified as thought leaders, as change agents, as individuals who can lead us in the right direction, somehow lost the ability to communicate with one another. They talk over each other. They post over each other. They don't communicate. They don't engage in dialogue. They simply broadcast their thoughts. So therefore, everybody kind of lost the ability to communicate. But I looked around the room and I saw a group of individuals who were willing to communicate, a group of individuals who were saying, hey, I got something to say, and I have a solution to this problem. And Kelly looked around the room and said, hey, listen, I'm seeing those same individuals. And those individuals were high school students. They were exceptional students. They were bright students. They were high achieving students. And they were you guys. And they were you girls. And we said, we need to help those individuals develop their voice, because they have something to say. And they are the ones who, if we invest our time and energy as a society, those are the individuals who are going to lead us out of this issue. So as Kelly said, for the next half hour or so, we're going to explore what that means, how we got here as an organization, what a think tank is, and what benefit this process can provide you as a student, you as a socially conscious individual, you as a potential change agent. Fair enough? Sound like a reasonable use of time on a Friday afternoon of a holiday weekend? All right, very good. Here's how this is going to go down. I have two large and vociferous dogs who are in the next room. Now, normally they behave themselves when it comes to social justice matters. When they don't behave themselves is when I get a delivery. And it just so happens for the last month, I've been waiting for a sofa to be delivered. And they promised me that that delivery was going to come between 11 a.m. this morning and 2 p.m. today. Guess who just texted me and told me that the delivery will be here in approximately 5 to 10 minutes? Raymore and Flanagan. So at that point, they will get here and my dogs will go absolutely nuts. But as we've learned over the last year and a half, that is the cost that we pay to be remote. That is the cost we pay when we live in a pandemic. So I appreciate your patience. They should be, their disruption level will be minimal, but they will most likely distract me. So if you just give me a little leeway, we'll let them calm down and we'll get through this. Fair enough? That sound cool? All right. I say that just to kind of let you guys know what's going on. I'm not particularly polished to begin with. So even if I didn't have dogs, I'd probably get distracted during the next 20 or 30 minutes, but at least I can blame it on my dogs and everybody is none the wiser. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Teen Think Tank Project by asking others to tell you a little bit about the Teen Think Tank Project.
But what we're facing isn't a political issue. It's more of a civil rights, human rights issue. And I think that this year, it was there, plain black and white. You couldn't paint the picture any more vividly.
I mean, I think that they should, if they're white students, should be listening to their black fellow students and brown fellow students to learn about what their lives are really like as opposed to what they imagine. And mainly, what I would tell them is, don't sit on the sidelines. Everybody can't be on the front lines, but everybody's got to be off the sidelines.
But in order for change to take place, you have to have a change agent in position. You need to have someone that is dedicated.
I just think your support is invaluable. I think when you take that step to really show yourself as an ally, that reaches another level of comfort. And also it shows that you are kind of willing to go out of your way to make the effort to be uncomfortable so that we kind of can have that sense of comfort. So that's really one thing that I find invaluable and I kind of look for when I'm searching for people to surround myself with and when I kind of create these conversations and dialogue with my peers.
A group like this is just extremely invaluable because it just shows that people are looking for ways to help. As we all continue to learn and grow, we can help others outside of this group learn and grow and how to become advocates.
There's an indoctrination, there's a conditioning of the way to do things. And when you step out of that box, a lot of people don't want that type of friction in their life. They don't want those risks. I understand it, I'm not mad at you. But if you really want change, you have to think outside the box. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to say and do things that aren't the ordinary. I'll put something on my mind. You might not know it, but I'm going back to the drawing board and rethink some things. So I appreciate you.
So one of the things that we're looking to do is it's a 12-week program. 12-week program. We're about 3 weeks into it now. But in late March, early April, we're going to publish content. We're going to publish policy work that says, this is what we found. This is what we understand to be relevant. This is what we want to see happen. We'll share that with you. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Please do. So you're a real think tank.
We are. We are a real think tank. What I'd like to do is just kind of give you an idea of what our conversation will entail as we unpack what that idea of a think tank is and who we are, and what role we play. We're going to spend a few minutes on introductions. I'm going to formally introduce myself and give you an idea of why I'm here, how I got here. We're going to ask Kelly to introduce herself. We're going to talk about why we came together, because as we talk about in the Teen Think Tank project, the why is always the most important question. We spend a lot of time trying to identify as individuals who we are, right? I mean, there's an entire decade of our teen years where we're always asking, who are we? What do we want to be? How are we going to get there? But it's those who stop and ask the question, why? Why do we want to be there? Why do we want to do the things we do? Are the individuals who tend to ascend to leadership positions. They are the individuals who other folks listen to, because the why is always the most important question in our opinion. We're going to talk a little bit about what a basic think tank does. You may have heard the term, but you may not understand what role they play in society, what role they play in business. We're going to talk about the Teen Think Tank project specifically. We're going to talk about our summer session. We're going to talk a little bit about the work that we've done in the past. We're going to explain why this matters, why this can benefit you, and then we're going to open it up to questions. Okay? Before we get started, are there any questions, procedurally or otherwise? Or does this all make sense to everybody? Are we kind of heading down a road that we can all get behind and at least understand why this all matters in our current state of affairs as we are a society, as we are a collective? So far, so good. Thumbs up, high five, give me a dab, a wink, not anything that lets me know that we're all on the same page. Very good. Okay. This dude right here, that is me. That's a former version of me. There's two reasons I use this picture in particular. One, I don't necessarily have a ton of pictures of myself. I don't enjoy headshots. I haven't been a member of the corporate world in the traditional sense for a very long time. So I don't have headshots or professional pictures. But the important reason I use this picture is because it is the high school version of Matt DeSantis. And it's not the version I want to go back to because that's when my glory days were. It's not the version I want to go back to because I wore handsome olive colored suits and had a bad haircut. It's not the version I want to go back to because that's when life was easier. It's the version I want to go back to because it's the point in my life that if I could do something different, if I could change my course, if I could do something that was aimed at building a person that could have been, it's the point that I would go back to, because I was a quote unquote smart kid. I fill in the narrative, fill in the extracurricular activity, honor society, athlete, Eagle Scout, all those accolades that we aspire to so we can get into a better college, so we can get a better job, so we can make more money. I tried to check those off, and I tried to fill out a application or a portfolio that made me look like the best student, that made me look like the best person I could be. But what I failed to do at that time was actually try to create the best person I could be. I never took a minute to think about who I wanted to be or why I wanted to be that person or what was important to me. So from that point on, I spent about 25 or 30 years just doing the things that I thought would make me happy, doing the things that I thought would have an impact, doing the things that I thought other people wanted to see. But in reality, I was doing nothing. I was accomplishing nothing. I was not creating a better version of myself. And then one day I find myself in my mid-40s, not caring about too much, not attempting to strive to be much better than I was. And I found a emptiness. I found a hole in my personal development. So if I had the chance to go back to at any point in my life, it would be the point where I could absorb the most, where I could have the most impact on developing myself. And that point was in high school. That point was when I was a junior or a senior in high school and had the capacity to do the most work on creating a better sense of myself. Now, a lot has happened from that time that I wouldn't change, and a lot has happened in that time that I feel has benefited me and benefited my family, but nothing that has benefited my community or benefited my society. Luckily, now I've taken those steps, but those steps would have been much easier if I started to realize that I could have an impact on things that were greater than myself back when I was in high school. So that's why I use an outdated, clearly unphotoshopped picture of myself to tell you about who I am. Because if I could be something different, I would go back and give that insight to this particular individual and see what he could do with it. Lucky for us as an organization, we have a much more polished, we have a much more put together, we have a much more centered individual on our staff, and that individual is Kelly Nagel, who will formally introduce herself now.
Well, thank you, Matt. That's quite a bar to live up to. I appreciate it. So I spent 11 years of my career working in nonprofit for some of the leading healthcare organizations. I raised money for research and local programs. I developed health education and community outreach initiatives, and I managed teams of individuals who shared my vision of improving health outcomes for vulnerable communities. Helping others and addressing social justice issues has always motivated me, but my passion really lies in politics and global affairs. So towards the end of my nonprofit career, I went back to school, and last January, I graduated from Rutgers with a master's in political science focused on the United Nations and global policy. And thanks to the pandemic, I was holed up at home when Matt reached out to me with an idea for a think tank. And I should note that Matt and I have worked together through our association with nonprofit organizations for 5 or 6 years. So it was not unusual that Matt reach out to me. And we both share a love for conflict resolution, for addressing inequities and empowering others to rise as leaders. And we also share frustration with the disheartening trajectory our society is following and the lack of communication and leadership skills that are contributing to it and that are unfortunately on display all day, every day through the media and social media. So when I read Matt's proposal for empowering socially conscious high school students to learn through fact-based information about complex histories and policies that have helped shape some of our most pressing social justice issues, plus develop the important professional skills that will enable them to become effective, empathetic leaders, I was all in. I believe we cannot be a fully functioning, just healthy society if we individually lack the personal and professional development skills to positively contribute to that society. And not everybody learns these skills. And oftentimes if they do, like in my case, you learn these skills through some difficult and devastating life experiences. So I always think about the potential for students who are taught these critical skills at a young age. and I also can't help but think just how much better will we all be as a society, and how many injustices could we address if the next generation is personally empowered and already possesses the knowledge and empathy when they step into roles as leaders. And so now I feel like I've found the right way to fulfill my calling of making a positive impact in the world and addressing the social justices that are social justice issues that are most important to me. And so my way of building a better future is by working with incredible, ambitious students who share the same passion for creating positive change. And while I'm also working towards the future, I'm actually also working towards creating more positive change among my generation through a coaching business I also have, working with clients on personal development and self-empowerment so they can contribute to a more positive society. But my passion and what I continue to talk about just glowingly is the Teen Think Tank Project, and working with students such as yourself has been such a reward personally, to be a part of a community that really shares the same values and the same motivation for creating a more positive, more just, more empathetic world.
So that's us. That's the founding duo of the Teen Think Tank Project. But a team is not a team with simply two members, and certainly a think tank is not a think tank without individuals with different experiences, with different philosophical ideologies, without different experiences or expertise. So what we did was we took this idea, we took this concept, and we made it a reality. And the way we went from a social justice education exercise to a full-fledged think tank is we invited and we assembled a group of individuals who are experts, who are thought leaders, and who do lend a perspective that is different than ours, but is all rooted in fact-based dialogue. And those individuals are plentiful. Those individuals include a author and columnist by the name of Mike Freeman, who works for the USA Today and is the race and inclusion editor. He wrote a book called Football's Fearless Activist, which served as the resource text for our inaugural cohort, where we looked at racial inequality in America by examining social protest in sports, specifically through the eyes and the story of Colin Kaepernick. We have individuals like Connie Whitman, who is a New Jersey-based communications consultant who talked about the importance of professional and personal communication. Thomas Leatherbury, who is a renowned national First Amendment scholar. Sean Tucker, who was the youngest athletic director in the NCAA when he took the mantle of vice president and director of athletics at New Jersey City University. In addition to being a former athlete at Rutgers University, we call him a friend at the Teen Think Tank Project. Dr. Richard Lapchick, who is an internationally renowned social justice advocate and professor in sports business and racial equality. Google that name, you will know that you are 2 steps removed from one of the preeminent scholars and advocates and activists when it comes to racial equality and racial justice in America. Essence Carson, who is, in addition to being a WNBA star and champion and Rutgers alum, is a New Jersey native and a good friend of our program. And finally, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, who you heard during that introductory video, and hopefully his words resonated with you, because they've resonated with me. And I've had 2 or 3 conversations with Mahmoud in both informal and formal settings, and his words never cease to motivate me, never cease to give me something to think about, never cease to give me a desire to go out and better myself, to read something, to learn something. And the question that I have, being blessed with these individuals who have picked up my phone call or answered my email, and believe me, I have no business having these individuals answer my phone calls or send me emails. These folks are at the top of the food chain in their respective industries, in their respective careers, but every single one of them answered my questions without fail, without hesitation, and jumped on board to be part of this organization, to be part of this project. Why did they do so? They did so, in my opinion and my belief, and coming to speak with these individuals, it became apparent that whether they identified with it or not, they were part, or they believed in a concept called Umbuntu. Anybody familiar with that phrase, that term? Any computer programmers out here? It's a concept that they use in the development language called Linux. And they use it very specifically because it is a concept that focuses on connection. And I guess if you're a computer programmer, every step of code means something. And if there's a break in the chain, the whole system breaks down. But its literal term comes from a African philosophy. It's actually the tribe of Zulu uses this phrase to convey the thought that a person is only a person because of other people. Think about that. It's kind of deep, right? Especially for a Friday at 1:30. We can't be individuals without other individuals helping us be individuals. It gets to the message that community is what is important, because the individuals come together as a whole and create a community, and only working together can we better our individual situations. It's the oneness in us that is important. And there's a story that's told, and Mahmoud brought it to my attention during one of our sessions and one of our conversations, but it's been told in other places. And essentially it says this: an anthropologist, everybody familiar with anthropology? An anthropology proposed a game to children in an African tribe. And he put a basket of fruit near a tree. And he told all the kids that whoever got there first would win the basket of fruits. And when he told them that, he expected them all to get up and run into a mad dash so the winner could take the spoils. But instead, what this group of children did is they took each other's hands and walked to the tree and sat together and enjoyed the fruits as one. And when he asked them, why did they proceed like that? The fastest of the group could have had all the fruits, but instead they decided to go together. The children in unison said, Umbuntu. As if to say, we are one, we are a community. Umbuntu. How can one of us be happy if all the other ones are sad? I don't know about you, but I get goosebumps every time I hear that. And I don't get goosebumps very often. I don't care about many things. I've seen a bunch of stuff. I've been a bunch of places. Not easily impressed. But every time I hear that, whether I hear somebody else say it or whether I speak it to myself, it always resonates with me. How can one of us be happy if all the others are sad? And that, to me, is the point that we've gotten to as a society, where individual goals and individual benefits have overshadowed the group and have overshadowed our community and overshadowed the role that we can each play in making all of us better. So that's why all of those individuals answered our phone call, answered our email, decided to get on board and play a role in helping the Teen Think Tank Project give voices to teens. Ubuntu. Because we're all in this together. So we might as well all hold hands towards the common goal. A think tank is a representation of that concept of Ubuntu. And Kelly's going to talk a little bit about the general concept of think tank and how it benefits from that idea that we need to come together to benefit society.
So a think tank, by definition, is an institute, corporation, or group organized to study a particular subject, whether it be a policy issue or a scientific problem, and provide information, ideas, and advice. And then their policy recommendations would go on to inform either policy creation by government or amending existing policy. And there are many, many different types of think tanks. They focus on different areas of the world, or areas of the industry, of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, where you also have the Brookings Institute that looks at many different policy issues. You have a more conservative lean to think tanks like the Heritage Foundation, or it can go the other way and lean a bit more liberal, like the Center for American Progress. But really, the think tank is an academic embodiment of Ubuntu. And it's people of different disciplines, expertise, experiences coming together to cultivate ideas and information and create action for the betterment of everyone. And certainly that more, intangible type of focus is what the Teen Think Tank was born out of, that we can bring individuals together, inclusive of individuals who are left out of these other existing think tanks. And that's you. That is your generation, who are far more in tune to current events and social justice issues than I was, Matt was, many of our peers were when we were your age. It's like Matt introduced himself and the things that coulda, woulda, shoulda as a high school student that just didn't know at the time. But your voices matter, not only because you're so informed and active now, but because you are the next generation who is going to be taking on these issues. You will graduate and inherit these issues. And darn it, why not have a say in that right now? And so what drives a teen think tank is this idea of Ubuntu and everyone working together, bringing their individual strengths to create a very powerful team that exists for the good of everyone.
All right, let's check up real quick. Is what we've covered for the last 20 minutes seem like a bad idea to anybody? All right, that's good. It's a good place to start. Does it seem like a good idea to anybody? All right. Anybody still like, not so sure? I don't know. We kind of learned that in order to succeed, we need to look out for number one. In order to rise to the top, we have to build our own muscle memory, and we've got to work towards individual goals. But I kind of understand the benefit of working as a society to make things better. And if you're there, that's cool. All right, because that's kind of what we've been taught, right? But as you guys are seeing reality play out in real time, that there's a changing dynamic in our society. There's a changing dynamic in America, and we are headed in a different direction than we were when my grandparents were growing up and my parents were growing up and I was growing up. Does everybody see that? At least we're changing. The times are changing. So we might need to change our mindset. All right, if I can get you there, then we're still cool. We're still in a good spot. Because what we're going to talk about now is how the Teen Think Tank Project in particular tries to make that concept a reality. Right? We're not a social justice exercise. We're not a current events project. We're not a summer camp. We're a fully functioning real life think tank. We bring together individuals who are exceptional, high achieving. They have a high moral compass. They care about things. They're hard workers. That's why we have a merit-based enrollment. Yes, we want people who want to do good, who want to do better, but we're more interested in people who actually are committed to doing better. And what does that mean? It's a subjective process, right? It doesn't always just mean somebody with a 4.0, or it doesn't just mean somebody who's a National Honor Society student, right? But it also doesn't just mean, well, I kind of care, so I think that I would benefit from being in a project like this. It's how committed are you as an individual to seeing change happen. That's what we use as our line of demarcation in terms of merit. This project was conceptualized as a traditional extracurricular activity. We meet in a classroom, we meet in a building, we meet on a campus. The pandemic had a whole other idea for us. So we adjusted, we went 100% digital, and we may not go back. Because what we find is by being 100% digital, we are able to move and connect individuals that might not otherwise be connected and provide perspectives that aren't available to us in our own communities. It's a 12-week program. We meet 3 hours a week. In addition to that, there is a good amount of independent study, collaboration, some kind of group meetings off to the side that we engage in. It's very much modeled after a college course experience. We do professional development. Okay, it's not your traditional program where a bunch of students sit facing an instructor and the instructor instructs. No, we bring in a lot of guest speakers. We bring in individuals who we might not have access to otherwise, and we converse as we're all on the same level. We look to give students an ability to advance their academic portfolios, produce work that helps them on to their next stage of academic or professional career, as well as develop skills that will benefit you in your next pursuits, whether that's college or something that's non-traditional. This all matters because somebody told us it matters. In particular, National Honor Society, who, whether we're members of that organization or not, we can generally agree that they've got their thumb on what intellectual, academic, professional development looks like. They're saying there's these 10 things that you should do to get ready for your future, regardless of what your future is. And we know they're serious about it because they put a hashtag to it. And they called it hashtag future ready. I don't know about you, but when the National Honor Society starts trafficking in social media hashtags, you know that it's got to be big business and it's got to be taken seriously. So we took it seriously. And we created our own hashtag just to kind of keep up with the neighbors. And they are the 10 steps or the 10 exercises that we engage in that directly correlate to the 10 exercises that the National Honor Society tells you should engage in. Find a purpose, set some goals, increase your ability and comfort when it comes to public speaking, focus on time management and self-management, become a storyteller, explore different careers, master the interview process, go out and build a business, build a brand, build a product. We do all of those things in one form or another. In particular, we look to do those things through a focused study, through a focused conversation that looks at real life problems and real societal issues. Because if we're going to go through this exercise of becoming better people, right, better members of society, well, we might as well do so with subjects that A, we encounter in real life, and B, that we're going to have to focus on eventually. Right? Is there anybody that thinks poverty won't be a thing when you're an adult? Is there anybody that thinks access to health care won't necessarily be a problem in 5 or 10 years? Is there anybody that thinks racism is just going to go away? These are all realities, right? They're all realities that we live in. But I mean, I hate to admit it, but I'm only going to have to live with them for, I don't know, 25, 30 more years. My cholesterol is a little high, so maybe I'm giving myself too much credit, but I've run at least half my race already. But you guys are just starting out. These are problems that you're seeing now, and they're real, right? How many people see them out there in your communities, right? And whether you're experiencing them personally or not, you're looking out your window going, man, these problems are real. And they're only going to stay around until individuals commit to making them go away. So that's why we study them. That's why we study them, to give the future change agents a voice and to say in tackling these problems. And those individuals are you guys. Spoiler alert, that you're going to inherit them. So we might as well work on them now so they're not a shock to the system when you get out there and are experiencing these in the real world. We know this process works because we've done it already. And Kelly's going to talk a little bit about what that means, that we've done it already.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Our most recent group of research associates were amazing. 9 students from different backgrounds, different states, different perspectives, different life experiences came together to look at racial injustice in sports and society. And they spent 12 weeks learning from some of the experts and thought leaders that Matt mentioned. And they were charged with putting together a policy framework. And there were some suggestions on what that would look like, but ultimately, we want to foster the creativity and the innovation and the thoughtfulness from our students. And so there was no specific guidelines of you can do this and you can't do this. And when we gave them that educational freedom to innovate, the students decided to come up with 3 different ways to convey their policy framework. One was a 10-minute documentary capturing their thought process and their research about racial injustice in sports and society. One is a children's book that they are currently working on and looking to publish in the fall. And the third was your more traditional way of a 30-page research paper into some of the origins of racial injustice in sports, society, and the business world, and ideas that they formulated on how we can realistically address them and have athletes' voices heard and address the larger issue of racism in society. And so 3 of the associates took the lead on this project. You see their names there, Jack, Rohan, and Jared, and they put together and ultimately presented in a policy framework launch party their findings, their research, their findings, their conclusions, and also potential rebuttals to their ideas. And we published that paper. So they're now published authors on our website, on other platforms, and their work will live and be memorialized. And maybe one day, 10 years down the road, you'll see these names again as they launch from this policy framework to create implementable policy, whether it's in their companies that they'll be leading or within the sports world or wherever their amazing trajectories take them. And we're excited for the incoming group of summer research associates. We already have some brilliant and amazing students from many different states in the country who are coming together talking about these topics. And the one we're really digging into is financial stability and poverty, and looking at the structural issues that contribute to ongoing poverty and financial insecurities. So we welcome students who embrace the idea of creating change and strengthening their voice and using their voice to create a better future. And with that said, in addition to published content and documentaries and expanding their perspectives, we saw some real tangible benefits from that students got out of the research cohorts. Academic and professional resume building. They now have this on their resume that they were research associates with a think tank. They had the opportunity to network with these incredible thought leaders and experts who joined us and who contributed to their research, either through LinkedIn or email. They now have those individuals to stay connected to. Letters of recommendation, Matt and I love talking up and bragging about the amazing students that we get to work with. And we're always ready, willing, and able to provide letters of recommendation for individuals who request them. We also offer a college scholarship, a $500 college scholarship to one research associate from each cohort. And since our cohorts max out at 12, that's a 1 in 12 chance of being awarded a $500 scholarship, which I know college is a lot more expensive now than when Matt and I went through 2-3 decades ago. I cringe when I say those numbers. But $500 is nothing to laugh at. It's books, it's tuition, it's all the essentials that you need to be paying for college. I mentioned that we published the students' frameworks. You'll have publishing credits and publishing rights. We create a business agreement between our research associates, and whatever content and publications go on to generate revenue, whether it's the children's book that I mentioned that the last cohort is doing, or whatever our students dream up in terms of promoting their content and spreading the word. If they're generating revenue from that, that is a revenue share agreement amongst the cohort that the cohort will benefit from. For all of our enrollees who go through a cohort, you that are then given preferred enrollment status for future cohorts, because every trimester we will be introducing new research topics, or maybe there's a research topic that a research associate wasn't able to enroll in that particular trimester that they'd like to make sure to join the following trimester. There's preferred enrollment. And finally, we have a fellowship program. We are serious when we say that your voices matter, and we want the voices of our students and research associates to be heard. And so we have a board of directors, and we have earmarked positions on that board specific to our students. One has been filled by a student from the winter research cohort, but those are spots for students who are interested and who are accepted in that position to have a even stronger voice in the development of the teen think tank. So those are some of the intangible benefits that students can take away immediately. And I will let Matt talk about some of the more intangible future thinking type of benefits that we're seeing from our students who are part of the Teen Think Tank project.
Thanks, Kel. Yeah, the tangible benefits are the things that we're always drawn to, right? What can we pull out of this? And I understand that that's the here and the now. That's what we're concerned with. It's a survival mechanism, right? Like, what's in it for me today, now? What can I pull out of this? But what I hope you will start to learn and start to realize sooner than later is it's the intangible elements of your development, whether that's academic, personal, or professional, are the things that are going to separate you from others, right? And as much as we need to be a community, as much as we need to work for one another, it's our ability to build ourselves, to be the best version of ourselves. And those intangible elements, the leadership skills, the communication skills, the ability to find the right career without wasting 20 or 25 years meandering through a variety of jobs. Expanding your perspectives, growing yourself as a person are all important things. Now, you can find those in other arenas. You can grow personally. You can expand your perspective. You can explore careers in places other than the Teen Think Tank Project. I'm not the only game in town, but I do know that you can do that with us. We look forward to doing it with you. And we hope that mutual need, that mutual desire to improve ourselves and society, and that mutual opportunity to do so together as part of a research cohort matched for some of you today. And if it did, we invite you to go to the teenthinktankproject.com. You can learn all about our program. You can enroll. You can share it with your teachers. You can share it with your parents. Everything you need to know is there. The only caveat is that we are about to start the summer research cohort on June 7th. We currently only have available space in the financial stability research cohort, which will be looking at poverty in America. And that enrollment or that application period closes on May 31st. So it's coming up pretty soon. But if you're interested, you can find out everything you need to find out by visiting our site. If you have any more questions or need clarification on anything, you can schedule a info session with us, a one-on-one interview with us, or you can simply email us. All of our information is on there. And it's 2 o'clock. We've taken up 1 hour of your time. But before we go, do we have any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. You were talking about this before about how, like, the think tank project is trying to solve like all these social injustices, such as the racism that's integrated into the United States. I guess like my question is, to what extent do you think that's actually possible? Because I think like I personally have been like working with other groups to try solving that, but at the end, like, yeah, I guess that's what I'm.
Yeah, how possible? How likely is it that we can see change, whether now or in our lifetime, right? I don't know, but I do know that if we do nothing, the chance is 0.
Yeah.
By virtue of getting off the mat, by simply stepping up and saying, I want to see change, we've already increased our odds of success. And maybe it won't come in our lifetime. Maybe it won't come in my lifetime. Maybe it won't come in your lifetime. But the only way for us to see it is to engage and actively commit to it now.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. That was outstanding. Anybody else? Well, if something comes to you, by all means, reach out, shoot us a note on the website. If you are interested in applying and being part of this summer session, we encourage you to do so. I've made a list of jotted down the names of the individuals who are here. So I'll be on the lookout for your application should you choose to do so, and make sure that finds its way to the top of the pile somehow.
Matt, Mrs. Walsh had a question, right?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what is the cost for this?
Very good question. It is $0. This is a free program. The organization and our offerings are at a cost, and typically it's a $2,500 program that goes over 12 weeks and 36 hours, very similar to what you would get in a traditional extracurricular camp environment, or if you're going to take Princeton Review, test prep, or go to broadcasting camp or something along those lines. But for this particular cohort, for these particular students, we are offering this program for free.
That's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions now that we know it's free? That's a very good question. Might spurn some interest otherwise.
I will also note that if you want to keep in touch with us, join our community. We are on social media. We're at teen_think tank. We also have a weekly podcast where we're talking about social justice issues with experts and industry leaders. That's Here's the Problem podcast. It's problem_pod. Or when you go to the website that Matt showed you, you can join our email list. All ways to stay in touch with us, be a part of a community with like-minded, socially conscious students.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just have one more question. Since there's like a limit of 12 people, if we do not get in, is there any other ways that we can still be involved with this project or?
That's a good question. We are always expanding our offerings. We will be having a fall session as well. And without talking it over with Kelly and just kind of in the spirit of the holiday weekend and in spirit of togetherness, if anyone who applies for the summer session and does not get admitted for whatever reason, I will roll over that offer to the fall for free enrollment for these students. Although you have to apply in the summer, so I can put you in the file and remember that you didn't make it, but I'm going to hold you a spot for you in the fall. Fair enough? Cool. All right. We're about 6 minutes past our promised time. Give me 30 more seconds. I would love it if all of you applied. And I'd love it if all of you got in. And I would love it if for the next 12 weeks over the summer, we got to work on socially relevant problems. But I understand that it's not necessarily the reality. That might not be where we're all at right now. But what I do ask is that none of you forget this conversation. Okay, you can forget who I am and you can forget who Kelly is and you can forget what the Teen Think Tank Project is, but don't forget that you are part of the solution to what society needs to see. Don't be overwhelmed by that. Don't shy away from that. Find the best version of yourself and the best way you can make an impact and do it. And maybe that's not being on the front lines. Maybe it's just volunteering your time to an organization. Maybe that's raising money for an organization. Maybe it's just keeping it consciously on your mind. That's better than those who pretend it's not happening. So I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to thank Kelly. I would like to thank Mrs. Welsh for organizing this. I don't know if you guys know this, but I deal with hundreds of teachers in my role as part of this project, and not all of them are awesome. Mrs. Welsh is awesome. By the mere fact that she organized this and thought enough of you guys, of this class, to invite you here, and thank you for coming here. I'd also like to thank my dogs for not blowing up this entire presentation. I will not thank Raymore and Flanagan because they should have been here earlier. I will thank my girlfriend Bernadette for tending to all that while we're not here, but have a good weekend. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Keep being awesome, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.